We're about to embark on a journey through 142 facts about Joey Wheeler's Duelist Kingdom Deck. But before we dive in, let me ask you this. Can you name all of Joey's monsters, spells, and traps without peeking? Don't worry if you can't, by the end of this video you'll be a Joey Wheeler expert. From time wizards to baby dragons, flame swordsmans, and even to Rage of the Brooklyn variety, we're diving deep into the deck of the King of Underdogs. So kick back, relax, and prepare to have your mind blown as we dive into 142 mind-blowing facts about Joey Wheeler's iconic Duelist Kingdom deck. If we break down the name Anthrosaurus, we get a pretty neat translation. The term anthro refers to the Greek word anthropos, which when translated means either human or man, while saurus means lizard. So this card's name reads as man-lizard when translated, but we'd obviously go with lizard man, which I think really sounds more like a card name Joey would run in his deck, right? Anthrosaurus sounds kind of too posh for his Brooklyn twang, don't you think? Anthrosaurus' first TCG release was in 2013's Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack. This set was heavily based off Joey, featuring 81 cards that he played, along with cards used by other duelists in the show, including My Valentine, Yami Marik, Rex Raptor, Bandit Keith, and the Paradox Brothers. Now, one of the coolest things about this set is that 8 monster cards have their flavor text written with Joey's legendary Brooklyn accent. And Anthrosaurus' text read, "This man like dinosaurs got a high IQ even though he's lacking in the strength department. Kinda like yous if you had a high IQ. Yeah." Apologies for my bad Joey impression there, by the way. We all know that Kaiba isn't Joey's biggest fan, and will get one over on him at any given opportunity, whether that's beating him in a duel or making a sly comment about him. But I think we can all agree that one of his best quotes towards Joey was,
"You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck."
But what's interesting here is that despite calling his deck fourth rate, Kaiba actually owns a lot of Joey's cards himself. So introducing the Kaiba's fourth rate briefcase count, where we will tally up how many of Joey's cards Kaiba actually owns himself. So let's play a game. Place your guesses on how many cards he owns now and let me know down in the comments if you get it right. Here we go. So we can see in episode 1 that this card is in Kaiba's briefcase when he offers a bunch of rare cards to Solomon Moto in exchange for his Blue Eyes White Dragon. A bonus anime appearance for this card is in episode 13. Now, this card features in the Friendship deck, which is a combination of Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Teia's cards that Yami used in his duel against Bakura. Here we can see Anthrosaurus in Yami's hand. Armored Lizard came out in 2002's Metal Raiders set and has a counterpart, Lesser Dragon, that came out in the set before it, Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, which was again released in 2002. In the games Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, Armored Lizard was drawn with a different artwork and had a different color scheme, being purple. Now, every time I see this, it kind of makes me think of a shiny Pokemon. Kaiba's fourth rate briefcase count 2. Yes, in episode 16 of the anime, Armored Lizard can be seen in Kaiba's briefcase when he takes out one of his new duel discs from his briefcase and tosses it to Joey for their duel. We also see this card in Kaiba's briefcase again in episode 26 when he gets ready to face off against Maximilian Pegasus. Did you know that Bandai held the rights for Yu-Gi-Oh! Shortly before Konami? Well, there are some really interesting differences between the two brands' cards, and we'll take Axe Raider as an example. We can see the artwork is different, but take a look at its level, attack, and defense stats. In the Bandai version, it's a level 6 monster with 2,300 attack and 1,500 defense, whereas in the Konami version, it's a level 4 monster with 1,700 attack and 1,150 defense. Now, I think we can all agree that Axe Raider is an awesome card and it has great stats for a level 4 monster, but During the Duelist Kingdom arc, you didn't have to tribute for monsters, so I think the Bandai version would have been a beast in Joey's deck then, especially because the Bandai version also has an effect that let you draw one card from your deck after the battle phase. Honestly, this takes this card to a whole new level of super special awesome. Axe Raider can be seen in other cards' artworks. It appears in the artworks of Flat Level 4, Summoning Clock, and Crossline Counter. In episode 46 of the anime, Joey takes on Duke Devlin in a duel at his game store. As the guys enter the game shop, there are a bunch of TV monitors that were showing the duels that occurred in Duelist Kingdom. Now, one of those screens you can actually see Axe Warrior doing his thing. And yes, again, this card is seen in Kaiba's briefcase during episodes 16 and 26. Baby Dragon's flavor text reads, "Much more than just a child. This dragon is gifted with untapped power." Now, the untapped power in this card's text is actually a reference to Thousand Dragon, which Joey would summon multiple times during Duelist Kingdom through Time Wizard's effect. The untapped power could also possibly be a reference to Alligator's Sword Dragon, a fusion used by Joey in Battle City in his duel against Mako Tsunami. Now, on the theme of Baby Dragon, Time Wizard, and Thousand Dragon, did you know that Joey obtained Baby Dragon differently in the manga? Now, in the anime, Joey got this card in a trade on a boat trip to Duelist Kingdom with a random person. In the manga, the monster was originally used by Yugi, and we saw it in his first duel against Pegasus. Yugi later gave Joey Baby Dragon along with Time Wizard to be used in combination together just before the Duelist Kingdom tournament. Baby Dragon has a Red Eyes counterpart called Red Eyes Baby Dragon, and I've got to say, isn't this one of the cutest little critters you've ever seen? Like, this little chibi Red Eyes are just so damn awesome. As fans, we love to see family connections between cards, be them real, by lore, or ones we make up for fun. Here's one between Battle Steer and Battle Ox. Brothers, perhaps? Now, they both share a similar name. Both are normal Beast Warrior cards, and both of their appearances take after bovines. What do you think? Do these guys come as a pair? One of my favorite things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the translations of the names in different languages. It's just really fun. And now, there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce this, but the Arabic name of Battle Steer translates to War Dog. How freaking awesome is that? Okay, let's check out more Bandai differences. Battle Steer is still a level 5 monster, but it has 2100 attack, 1600 defense, and it has the same effect that the Bandai Axe Raider card had too. And guess who also had this card? Yep, it was Kaiba. This card is seen in his briefcase in episode 1 as one of the many rare cards he was trying to trade for Solomon's Blue Eyes. Battle Warrior was a really terrible card. Terrible, but super nostalgic. Did you know that we had to wait 14 years for this card's TCG print just to be able to, or not able, to put it in our Joey character decks? The crazy thing is that in the OCG, Battle Warrior's first print was in 1999 in the Booster 1 set. It even got reprinted 3 times before we finally got it in 2013's Number Hunters set. I mean, we did get it as a super rare while it has only been printed as a common in the OCG, but still. Battle Warrior appears in the artworks of Sneak Exploder, Small Stopper, and Draw Muscle. And I mean, just look at that pose in Draw Muscle. This guy, he ain't packing much, but he looks like a boss in this artwork. Battle Warrior is a level 3 monster, but in the dub, it was a level 2 card. It also had different names for its attacks. In the original, it was Ultimate Screw Knuckle, and in the dub, it was called Ultimate Battle Fist. Both sound badass, but which one is your favorite? Okay, the biggest disappointment when it comes to Joey's deck has to be that Flame Swordsman is a fusion monster. Like, why is that? In the anime, it was always treated as a normal level 5 monster despite being colored in that fusion violet, and in the manga, it was just a normal monster. Now, in the Japanese version of the anime, it was colored yellow like a normal monster, but its card lore stated that it was a fusion monster and listed its materials, Flame Manipulator and Masaki the Legendary Swordsman. We can also see the Flame Swordsman in the first outro for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and it's colored as a normal monster there as well. So why couldn't we get it as a normal monster in the TCG? I did some digging on this and there is no clear reasoning as to why. However, the best and most likely reason Flame Swordsman became a fusion was that they just wanted to promote fusion summoning as it was fresh, brand new, and they wanted to hype it up at the time. Now, Flame Swordsman came out as a super rare card in 2002's Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon set as one of 10 fusion monsters. The only one fans would have wanted to play in that set was Gaia the Dragon Champion, but that was one of the set's secret rare cards. So, making an iconic card like this a fusion monster to encourage us to play fusions before better ones came out makes a lot of sense from a marketing perspective, but it still sucks, man, it sucks.
It's not fair!
Now, if you look closely at Flame Swordsman's sword, you can see a Japanese kanji character on it. This is the kanji Hono, which means flame. Did you know that there is a misprint of this card in 2004's Dark Beginning 1 set, where it has its name misprinted as Cyberstein? Now, some of these are going for a tasty price online. The highest one I found was £215, which is around $264. Did you know that Garuzzi's is the first non-Earth Beast warrior monster? Now, this is strange if you think about it, because don't you think based on its appearance, it should be a reptilian instead of a beast warrior? Garuzzi's isn't the only one though, as it shares this trait with Rude Kaiser, XX Saber Ragigura, and Dragoons of Draconia. In the original anime, Garuzzi's attack name is Speeding Killer Slash. In the dub, Garuzzi's attack had 3 different names. Its attack names were Battle Blade Strike, Battle Axe Crush, and 5/slash Strike. All sound pretty awesome though, to be fair. Garuzzi's has always felt like an iconic Joey card to me, but did you know that it was only played once after Duelist Kingdom? Like, this card was a staple for Joey in the Duelist Kingdom tournament arc as he played it in 4 of his 7 duels. Joey played it against Mako Tsunami and Battle City, but after that, it was never seen again. And I hope you're keeping count because this card was seen in Kaiba's briefcase in episodes 16 and 26. Guiltier the D-Knight is another monster that had the same treatment as Flame Swordsman, but there was never nearly as much heat about it when it came to this card. Like Flame Swordsman, in the manga and anime, it appeared as a normal monster, but was made into a fusion monster in the OCG and TCG. I presume this was for the same reasons as Flame Swordsman, which I guess makes sense. Guiltier the D-Knight came out in 2002's Metal Raiders, and it was one of 15 fusion monsters in the set as a common card. Now, the ones you wanted in that set were Black Skull Dragon and Thousand Dragon, but Black Skull Dragon was an ultra rare card and Thousand Dragon was one of the set's secret rares. So the theory stands, though Guiltier isn't nearly as iconic as Flame Swordsman. Quiz time! Do you know what the D stands for in Guiltier's name? Well, it stands for Dark, and this is super ironic because Guiltier was the first light warrior monster. Okay, let's look at some differences this card had between the manga and anime. First of all is that the card is a level 6 in the manga, while it is a level 5 in the anime. The other difference is in its artwork. When Guiltier the D-Knight was released, it was drawn in a completely different position compared to its manga artwork. And yes, we're increasing Kaiba's 4th-rate briefcase count again, as this card was seen in his briefcase in episode 1. To sum up this monster would be to say that it's basically cannon fodder. In episode 18 of the anime, Joey summons this card during his duel against Bones. We don't really see a lot of Glassman as Bones' dragon zombie attacks and destroys this card after it was powered by the effects of Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts. In fact, we see so little of this card that we don't really know anything about it. We see that it has 1100 attack and 1000 defense, but its level and attribute are both unknown. The reason for this is that Glassman is a filler-only card that's never been printed, and I don't think it ever will. Also, the name Glassman makes no sense to its appearance. I mean, maybe his spikes are glass or something, but I don't really get it otherwise. The OCG and TCG artwork for Koji Kosi is taken from chapter 11 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist manga, from the panel where this monster is summoned in Joey's duel against Mai. We also see that in the manga, Koji Kosi was a level 5 monster, whereas in the anime and TCG, it is a level 4 card. Now, it doesn't really matter in the Duelist Kingdom rules, but I'm glad that we don't have to tribute for those stats of his. When it comes to the Bandai version of this card, however, well, that's a different story. The Bandai card is a level 5 monster, but it has 2100 attack and 1300 defense. And I gotta say, I love the red beard and angry dwarven vibe that this card artwork has. Nothing against the TCG one though, that still feels really nostalgic, but I like the Bandai one. The Japanese artwork for the card Ultimate Offering is pretty gnarly, and it looks like the monster featured in this card's artwork could very well be our boy Leogun. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, Leogun was drawn with a different artwork. Now, it's somewhat similar to its anime and TCG version, but it puts a lot more focus on that mane of his. That, and he has a bluer tone to him as well. Sadly, Leogun has only ever made one appearance in a duel, which was in episode 11 when Joey took on Rex Raptor. It also fell victim to one of Joey's earlier dumbass moves, where he summons this monster to attack Rex's two-headed King Rex, forgetting that Rex's dino had a field power bonus, which ends up wrecking Leogun. Can we get an F in chat for Leogun, please? Did you know that Masaki the Legendary Swordsman was the first card in the OCG to feature English alphabetical characters in a card name? Masaki the Legendary Swordsman's flavor text reads, "Legendary Swordmaster Masaki is a veteran of over 100 battles." Now, for some reason, the German flavor text states that 1000 battles were fought by Masaki, whereas other laws only talk about 100. This is either a translation mix-up, or Germany just have a lot of love for this legendary swordsmaster. The Masaki card appears in the artwork of Chain Material, right underneath Flame Manipulator. And Masaki is another card found in Kaiba's briefcase during episodes 16 and 26. I've got to say, these cards, they are racking up now. They are racking up. Mio Toko is another card whose first TCG release was in Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack, meaning its flavor text is written with Joey's iconic Brooklyn accent. Yes, it reads, "This big old guy with a big old eye shoots a nasty ray beam right at ya." I wonder if we'll see the accent improve over the video. Probably not. Sorry. Direct translations from Japanese can be really fun when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. In the case of Mio Toko, the card's TCG name is from the Japanese Me Otoko. When directly translated to English, reads as I Man, which I kind of think sounds cool and funny, but it literally says what it is, right? I Man. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Dark Duel Stories 2, Mio Toko has different artwork and is coloured a more vibrant pink, which again makes me think of it as a shiny Pokemon. In 1999, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie called simply Yu-Gi-Oh! Was produced by Toei Animation, and the Red Eyes Black Dragon was the main card of that film. In the movie, the card is owned by Shogo Aoyama. Shogo pulls this card in a pack, but is too scared to duel with it and still lose, so he only ever uses it to intimidate others out of duels. Now, it's kind of funny, but Kaiba invites him to participate in a Duel Monsters tournament, but Shogo is too shy, so he decides not to go. So, what does Kaiba do when he wants something he can't have? Well, he sends his bodyguard to go and get it for him, of course. Shogo is kidnapped, and Yugi and Joey turn up to save him, etc, etc. It's a cool movie, definitely check it out. Now, we also get some cool comparisons in the movie between the Red Eyes Black Dragon and the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's stated in the movie that Blue Eyes represents power, while Red Eyes represents potential. Now, there are plenty of themes out there regarding the two dragons, as well as other cards in their archetypes. Based on their descriptions in the Yu-Gi-Oh game The Sacred Cards, the Red Eyes Black Dragon stands for violence and anger, and the Blue Eyes White Dragon represents destruction and pride. Now, if we look at the cards in their archetype, we can see that Inferno Fire Blast, Red Eyes Burn, Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, and Meteor Black Comet Dragon all inflict burn damage. As for the Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Burst Stream of Destruction, and Neutron Blast, yeah, they all revolve around destroying the opponent's cards. Now, you could argue that these traits also describe the characters that represent their archetypes. The violence and anger of the Red Eyes could describe Joey's past as a bully and temperament when ridiculed. The Blue Eyes White Dragon and its references to destruction and power could represent Seto Kaiba and his vanity. If we compare the Red Eyes Black Dragon's first and second OCG and TCG artworks with its third, fourth, and fifth ones, we can see that the Red Eyes has 3 claws in its first and second artworks, while the third, fourth, and fifth show the Red Eyes with 4 claws. The Red Eyes Black Dragon had a legendary and iconic attack name in the original series and the dub, which was of course Inferno Fire Blast. Now, for some reason, the attack name was changed when it featured in episodes 29 and 30 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. It had 2 different attack names actually. The first was Black Fire Bullet, and the second was Dark Mega Flare. Both sound pretty badass to be fair, not beating the original attack name though. Now, this is really interesting, but did you know that the Red Eyes Black Dragon is a part of our Kaiba's 4th rate briefcase collection? Yes, it can be seen in there in episode 16. Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 has a machine counterpart called Steel Ogre Grotto number 1. And in case you're wondering what a counterpart is, when 2 cards are purposely intended to seem or feel alike, or when a monster's alternate artwork is transformed into a different monster with only a palette change, this is referred to as a counterpart. We can see that clearly here using these 2 monsters as an example. Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 is almost identical to the card Stone Armadillo. They have the same level, attribute, type, attack, and defense stats. Now, I wouldn't put these 2 in the same family or anything like that, but it's really interesting to see that these 2 are pretty much the same card. Okay, let's stick on the theme of similarity, but this one is actually kind of strange. We have Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 and Rock Ogre Grotto number 2, right? They are somewhat similar in terms of the appearance or design, but their Japanese names are completely different from one another. Rock Ogre Grotto number 1's Japanese name when translated is Ogre Rock, and Rock Ogre Grotto number 2's name is War Earth. Now, I wonder why they decided to make their names this way in the English versions. But the crazy thing is that the Rock Ogres aren't the only ones this has happened to. This has also happened to the Darkfire Soldiers and the Flying Kamakiri. Did you know that Rude Kaiser is the only monster card that Yugi, Kaiba, and Joey have all used in the anime? Yugi uses it in episode 1 in his duel against Kaiba, Joey uses it in episode 16 in his duel against Kaiba, and then Kaiba uses it in his duel against Maximilian Pegasus in episode 26. And now this wasn't actually seen in Kaiba's briefcase, but he owns it and so does Joey. So this is definitely going in our Kaiba's 4th rate briefcase count, that's for sure. Okay, this one doesn't add up. If you read Rude Kaiser's flavor text, it reads, "With an axe in each hand, this monster delivers heavy damage." Now, I don't doubt that this guy can kick out the damage, but if we look at the axes he wields in his hand, well, he doesn't. He actually wields them on his wrists. It's time for more fun with name translations. In the German version of Forbidden Memories, what a game, the name of this card was Grausamer Kaiser, which when translated to English means Cruel Kaiser. And I think that sounds pretty cool. Tiger Axe's second OCG artwork, but first TCG artwork, is taken from Chapter 10 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist manga from the panel where Joey summons this monster against Mai. Tiger Axe has two artworks, and what's really interesting here is that the longtime OCG exclusive artwork was used in the international versions of the anime, while the TCG and OCG one was used in the original. Tiger Axe has hopped on over to feature in the artworks of the cards Wall of Disruption and Parasite Reborn. And Tiger Axe can also be seen in Kaiba's fourth-rate briefcase in episode 16 of the anime. Copycat is such a nostalgic Joey card. Did you know that when Copycat was released in the OCG and TCG, it was given a different color scheme compared to its Japanese anime artwork? It has a pale blue top with orange stripes, its gloves are white, the cape and hat are black, and the mirror it's holding is gold. We never would have noticed this change, as the international anime has always used the OCG and TCG artwork. Copycat has a Metal Morph archetype counterpart named Metal Illusionist, and this guy looks so badass. Like, it's cool to see Copycat get some love, that's for sure. Let's go back to anime differences, this time from the OCG and TCG. In the anime, Copycat was shown as a level 5 effect monster, though it was a normal monster in the dub that is a dark attribute monster with 0 attack and 100 defense. Now, in the TCG and OCG, it is a level 1 light effect monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. Yu-Gi-Oh! Took inspiration from Magic the Gathering in the early stages of Duel Monsters, and if you look at both Lava Battle Guard and Swamp Battle Guard, you'll see that they both bear a resemblance to Sol Kanar, the Swamp King. Lava Battle Guard can be seen in the card artworks of Skill Successor, Spell of the Ruler, Ego Boost, Battle Guard Rage, and Feast of the Wild level 5. Lava Battle Guard has 2 errata in the TCG. Errata are changes to any part of a card's text that can occur between reprints, fixing mistakes or making rulings easier to understand. Its original effect from its 2002 Metal Raiders print read, increase the attack of this card by 500 points for each face-up Swamp Battle Guard on your side of the field. Now, its first errata came in its 2013 Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack reprint, simplifying the wording to this card gains 500 attack for each Swamp Battle card you control. Its second errata, and last so far, occurred in its 2022 OST Tournament Pack 19 reprint, where it just reduced the wording on the card to read, gain 500 attack for each Swamp Battle Guard you control. Lava Battle Guard is also a part of Kaiba's fourth-rate briefcase, as it is seen in both episodes 16 and 32. The Bandai version of this card is an absolute tank. First of all, its appearance is crazy. It looks like a total combo of itself and Lava Battle Guard. But let's look at its stats. It's a level 6 monster that has 2,300 attack and 900 defense, whereas the Konami version is a level 5 card with 1,800 attack and 1,500 defense. The Bandai version also comes with an effect that is not linked to Lava Battle Guard. Its Bandai effect is that each player counts the total level stars of all monsters that they destroyed. The player with the highest amount is declared the winner, and I've got to say that's a really crazy effect, right? Swamp Battle Guard can be seen in the artwork of Skill Successor, Spell of the Ruler, Battle Guard Howling, and Feast of the Wild level 5. Remember that Bandai effect that we talked about earlier? Well, there could be a reason that it changed, other than it being super OP, of course. Swamp Battle Guard and Lava Battle Guard's effect work together in that they both gain 500 attack for each of the other that they control. The way in which they support each other represents the friendship between Joey and Tristan in the show, and how they always have each other's back. Swamp Battle Guard can also be seen in Kaiba's fourth-rate briefcase during episodes 16 and 32 of the anime. This is also the last of Joey's cards seen in Kaiba's briefcase, so out of a, let's say, 40-card fourth-rate Duelist Kingdom deck, Kaiba actually owns 11 of them. How close was your guess? Did you get it right? Let me know in the comments. Time Wizard is one of those cards that was used so differently in the anime compared to the OCG and TCG. In the anime, it was always played as a spell card despite being an effect monster, and coloured as one too. Now, the Bandai version of this card matched the way that it was used, and it is a spell card. In the manga as well, Time Wizard was also a spell card and not an effect monster. This wasn't the only difference. In its original manga artwork and in the Bandai game, Time Wizard doesn't actually have a physical clock face. Its face consisted of two disembodied eyes and clock hands floating inside a ring, and it's kind of creepy if you really study it. Because it doesn't have a physical face, its cape was visible through the hole. Now, because you could see half of its cape and half of the card's background, this likely became the inspiration for this monster's half blue, half yellow face in the anime and TCG. What we don't know is if Time Wizard's altered design in the anime and Konami card game was due to an artistic choice or a misinterpretation of the original artwork. They perhaps found the original creepy too, maybe. Did you know that in the Arabic anime dub, Time Wizard has been referred to by 3 different names? We have Clock Hand or Dial in Duelist Kingdom, and then post Duelist Kingdom it was known as either Clockman or Time Clock. Black Skull Dragon is the cover card for the iconic 2002 set Metal Raiders, but it was also the cover card of Revival of Black Demon's Dragon, a Japanese OCG-only reprint set that came out in 2000, featuring reprints that mainly came from the OCG's Volume 5 and Volume 5 sets. These would later become Metal Raiders. Now, the appearance of Black Skull Dragon on this set is taken from chapter 38 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist manga, from the full-page panel displaying this monster in Yugi and Joey's tag team duel against the Paradox Brothers. When it comes to the Bandai version of this card, the main difference you see straight away is that the Black Skull Dragon is red in the Bandai artwork, which kind of goes against its name, but I guess part of its skull is black, so it works, I suppose. The other differences are of course in its stats. The Bandai card is a level 7 monster that has 2600 defense, whereas the Konami version is a level 9 monster that has 2500 defense. Did you know that there are some similarities between the Black Skull Dragon and Red Dragon Archfiend? Red Dragon Archfiend's Japanese name, Red Demon's Dragon, is very similar to Black Skull Dragon's Japanese name, which was Black Demon's Dragon. Both of these monsters are also demonic dragons that are summoned from the extra deck. Not only that, but they also share the archetype Archfiend. Red Eye's Black Metal Dragon is the metal counterpart of Red Eye's Black Dragon. And did you know that this card is the first variation of Red Eye's Black Dragon that does not abbreviate black with B? Red Eye's Black Metal Dragon and Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon are the only Red Eye's monsters whose Japanese names are written without kanji. The card artwork for Red Eye's Black Metal Dragon's second OCG and TCG artwork is taken from chapter 63 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist manga, from the panel where we can see Red Eye's Black Dragon being equipped with Metamorph in Joey's Duelist Kingdom semi-final duel against Bandit Keith. Thousand Dragon is one of the first 2 fusion monsters to be released in a TCG starter deck, the other one being Flame Swordsman. Both of these fusion monsters were released in 2003's starter deck Joey. Now, you'll need to keep your eyes peeled for this one. Regular secret rare cards are supposed to have their foil stripe in a top right to bottom left direction. However, some of the secret rare versions of Thousand Dragon have their foil stripe in the top left to bottom right direction. Did you know that Thousand Dragon shares the same 2400 attack and 2000 defense as Red Eye's Black Dragon? Yes, this is an interesting stat when you consider that Thousand Dragon was Joey's ace monster before he acquired the Red Eye's Black Dragon from Rex. And that wraps it up for the monsters, and we're now moving on to Joey's spell and trap cards. But that isn't it for all of Joey's monsters. Yes, that's right. As a bonus, I'm going to include all the monsters in his amateur deck that he played in the first couple of episodes, as well as the deck that he played against Duke Devlin after Duelist Kingdom. I'll include these after the spell and traps, so make sure to stick around till the end for those bonus monsters. With a name like Dragon Nails, you'd think that it can be used by any dragon monster, right? Well, that's based on this card's English name. The Japanese name of this card is Claw of the Dark Dragon Tribe, which clearly indicates that it is for dark dragon monsters only. However, this isn't entirely the case, as in the TCG and OCG version of this card, it states that it can be equipped to any dark monster. What's really cool about this card is how its effect is a reference to Joey's duel against Bandit Keith in the semi-final of the Duelist Kingdom tournament in episode 32 of the anime. The card's added effect of not being allowed to be destroyed by your opponent's card effects is a reference to how it was used to avert the effect of Blastsphere. The card's effect of being able to revive the equipped monster if it is destroyed by battle and re-equipping the card to it is also a reference to the end of the duel where Joey used Grave Robber to steal Keith's time machine and used it to revive his Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon equipped with Dragon Nails immediately after it was destroyed in battle with Keith's slot machine. When the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime was dubbed, Dragon Nails was completely redrawn to be like the more detailed artwork of the card that was from the video game Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelist of the Roses artwork. Interestingly, the uncut English DVDs continue to use the original artwork of this card. Okay, let's check out another translation for this card. The Arabic name, which again I'm not going to try and pronounce, translates to Steel Claws. Did you know that the sword shown in this card's artwork is the sword wielded by Flame Swordsman? And for me, this makes the combo Joey used seem so much cooler now, right? The entity that engulfs the sword bears a resemblance to that of Darkfire Dragon. Why Darkfire Dragon, I hear you ask? Well, this is all because of card storylines. The tale tells the story of the Petite Dragon evolving into the previously mentioned Darkfire Dragon in order to gain strength, ultimately becoming the Five-Headed Dragon. All this only to be vanquished by the Blackluster Soldier who took the form of Dragon Master Knight, who then imprisoned it in the sword that the Flame Swordsman currently wields. These card storylines are pretty cool. There's loads of them. The unofficial term card storyline refers to the stories that can be put together from card artworks about the relationships between specific monsters and group of monsters. Many of these stories were actually documented in the Japanese master guidebooks featuring stories for other monsters like Dark Ruler Hades, Warrior Dai Grepher, Sangan, and many, many more. In the first series anime, yes, the one where Kaiba has green hair, Salamandra was actually a monster instead of a spell card. Let's look at the evolution of Shield and Sword's artwork from the manga through to the TCG. In the manga, the knight holding the shield and sword is shadowed, but when this card appeared in the anime, the knight featured on its artwork was drawn in much more detail. Of course, when this card was released in the OCG and TCG, it used the artwork from the anime, showing the warrior a bit more zoomed out. The last difference is that the international version of this card has its kanji removed and replaced with attack and defense. Shield and Sword has a continuous spell card counterpart called Weapon Change, which also features a knight switching his shield and sword around. The card allows you to once during each of your standby phases pay 700 life points and target one warrior or machine monster you control. Switch the current attack and defense of that target until the end of your opponent's next turn. As well as that, it also has a trap card counterpart called Inverse Universe. Inverse Universe only targets effect monsters, and its effect only lasts for one turn. Shield and Sword's artwork is similar to that of Chaos Barrier Field, an anime-only card used by Noah Kaiba, in that it depicts two textual circles, one red and one blue, with an arrow notations in front of a human figure. Did you know that in the anime and manga, Chasm of Spikes is one of the very few cards that require calculating a quarter of a value? When Chasm of Spikes was redrawn in 2016's Millennium Pack, it was redrawn with a lot more detail compared to its plain anime artwork. Its name was also changed to Trap Hole of Spikes. Let's stick with the topic of names. In the manga, this card has the same Japanese name as Trap Hole, which was Otoshiana, meaning pitfall. In the anime and Japanese OCG, it has a different Japanese name, Kushizashi no Otoshiana. Grave Robber is not only one of Joey's most iconic cards, but it's also up there on the list of anime cards that got nerfed so bad in the TCG. The negative effect of taking 2,000 points of damage while activating the spell card was of course not in the manga or anime version, but was added to the card when printed for the TCG. There's no need for that, right? There's no need. Did you know that the Grave Robber card can be seen in the artwork for Fake Feather, a card with a somewhat similar effect to Grave Robber, allowing you to use the effect of one of your opponent's cards? Grave Robber also fell victim to censorship. If you look at the international version's artwork, you will see that the cross on the grave has been completely removed. Grave Robber has really been done dirty by the TCG, right? I bet you've never thought about this until right now, but the weapon attached to the chain in kunai with chain isn't actually a kunai. Real-life kunai are Japanese digging tools used by ninjas as stabbing weapons, though they can also be thrown like shuriken. Kunai can be linked with a chain or rope, but this is to make a rope dart, similar to a chain whip in Chinese martial arts. However, the weapon in this card is more like a kusarigama. As well as that, the OCG name for this card is Chain Attached Boomerang, which I guess is closer to what it is, but still incorrect. In the video games Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelist of the Roses, The Sacred Cards, Rechef of Destruction, and Yu-Gi-Oh! BAM, Kunai with Chain is a spell card instead of a trap card. Kunai with Chain has two different artworks featuring the air quotes kunai in different positions and with different backgrounds. Also, in the video games Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2, this card was drawn with different artwork. I've got to say, I'm surprised that this card got so many different artworks, but I'm happy that it got some love. Did you know that Trap Hole was the first ever trap card released in the OCG? Not only that, but Trap Hole was also the first trap card to ever be limited in the OCG on its very first list. However, it was only limited for one format and was put back to unlimited in the very next one. The poor monster trapped down the hole in this card's artwork also appears in the artworks of Giant Trap Hole, Treacherous Trap Hole, Oh Fish, and Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare. There is hope for this guy though, as the trapped monster is shown to climb out of his hole in the artwork of Fisher. As for the card Trap Hole itself, it can be seen in the artwork of Speed Spell Gap Storm. And that is it for Joey's Duelist Kingdom deck, but we are not done yet. Yes. Let's first look into a card that is seen in his hand during Duelist Kingdom that he never played. And I wonder if you can guess it actually. It's said to be one of the weakest monsters in the game. In fact, Maximilian Pegasus, the creator of Duel Monsters himself, was even shocked to see someone use it in their deck. That someone being Yugi. Have you guessed the monster? That's right. It's Karibo. Karibo is seen in Joey's opening hand in his duel against Rex Raptor in the original version of the anime. In the dub, it was replaced by Sword Arm of Dragon. Now, let's dive into facts on Joey's amateur deck. Joey's first deck included only normal monster cards and didn't have a single spell or trap card. We saw him use this deck in the first two episodes of the second anime, and his win rate was absolutely shocking. He lost 6 duels with this deck, 1 against Yugi and 5 against Taya. However, I still feel like this deck is somewhat legendary to Joey's character in the series, so let's see what he was running and learn some cool facts about these monsters. Anthrosaurus didn't get a print in the TCG until 2013's Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack, but did you know that this guy has been kicking around in the OCG since 1999 in the Volume 3 set? Anthrosaurus has a counterpart in Crocodilus, a card that has never been printed in the TCG but came out again in 1999 in the OCG's Booster 5 set. In the games Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, Anthrosaurus was drawn with a different artwork, which looks a lot more like the artwork for its counterpart, Crocodilus. Did you know that Claw Reacher was one of the first cards seen on screen? It was seen in Joey's hand in his duel against Yugi along with Karrarin, the Furious Sea King, and Skull Stalker. In episode 13 of the anime, Yugi dueled Bakura using the Friendship Deck, the deck made up of cards from Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Teia's own decks. During the episode, we can see that somehow Claw Reacher made the cut, as we see it in Yugi's hand. However, he was forced to discard this card due to the flip effect of Bakura's Morphing Jar. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, Claw Reacher was drawn with a different artwork, where I personally think this monster looks a lot more terrifying, don't you think? Destroyer Golem appears in the artwork of the card Catastrophe Draw, an anime-only card from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Did you know that Destroyer Golem was never played in the anime? It made a couple of appearances but didn't get any gameplay at all. This actually shocks me a bit considering its stats compared to other monsters that got played, especially in Duelist Kingdom. This guy would have actually been decent, I think. Destroyer Golem was one of the legendary cards that came out in one of the first ever TCG starter decks, Starter Deck Kaiba. It was printed shortly after in 2002's Metal Raiders set and was brought back in 2020's Speed Duel Battle City box. It was good to see this OG make a return. Did you know that Kagemusha of the Blue Flame is the very first monster played in the first episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime? This means that it also made it the first card ever played in any series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Besides the Toei anime, of course. Kagemusha has a counterpart, or possibly even a later form, in Kagemusha of the Six Samurai. They both share the same color clothing and hair, as well as their poses being a mirror image of each other. Kagemusha also looks to be Shadow of the Six Samurai Sheen. They both share the same skin and hair color and have similar roles in operating as the body double and bodyguard of Great Shogun Sheen. Kagemusha also appears in the card artwork of Unification, albeit with more clothing. Kage Ningen was one of the epic cards released in 2013's Legendary Collection for Joey's World Megapack, whose flavor text is written with Joey's Brooklyn accent. His text read, "He uses both a physical form and shadow form to attack, so he's a tough monster to beat." Now, if we continue to study the flavor text of this card a little longer and highlight that the text of this card is basically saying that it's a difficult monster to overcome, well, we will see that if we look at its 800 attack and 600 defense stats, that this is really not the case. Stating this is classic Joey energy pre-Duelist Kingdom, right? Kage Ningen's artwork is so super creepy. Its name when translated from Japanese reads as Shadow Man, and I don't know what's creepier in this one, the shadow or the man. Miyotoko has a counterpart in Hero's Shadow Scout, a flip effect monster from 2002's Spell Ruler set. And I gotta say, these two look like brothers for sure, as they both look exactly the same, except Miyotoko has red hair and Hero's Shadow Scout has green hair. The Miyotoko family may even go further than that, as it also bears a resemblance to Big Eye from 2002's Metal Raiders set. My guess is that Big Eye is the daddy of Miyotoko and Hero Shadow Scout. Miyotoko was another of Joey's cards featured in the Friendship Deck. We can see it in episode 13 in Yami Yugi's hand. Again, he was forced to discard this card due to the flip effect of Morphing Jar. Do you know what the M stands for in M Warrior number 1? Well, it stands for magnets. If you translate the card's Japanese name, Magunetsu Ichigo, you get Magnets number 1. The clue to its name is also in its flavor text, which reads, specializing in combination attacks. This warrior uses magnetism to block an enemy's escape. M Warrior number 1 can be seen in the card artworks of Dino Domain, Live Twins Sunny Snitch, and Evil Twins Trouble Sunny. M-Warrior number 1 is another card that never sees any gameplay during the series, apart from one exception. In episode 133 of the anime, Joey is dreaming about a duel against some random kid in the finals of a tournament. Joey plays this card in combination with Legendary Sword to take out the kid's Nekogai number 1. M-Warrior number 1 is later taken out by the kid's Lesser Dragon. Did you know that M-Warrior number 2's attack and defense values are the same as its counterpart M-Warrior number 1's, except switched? M-Warrior number 2 appears in the card artwork of Live Twin Sunny Snitch with his bro M-Warrior number 1. Remember the memorable moment in episode 2 of the anime where Yugi is looking in absolute horror as he shifts through Joey's garbage deck? Well, did you know that M-Warrior number 2 is also shown at the bottom of the deck when Yugi tells him that he will keep losing his duels if his deck is filled with nothing but monster cards? Now, we talked about Joey's awful record with this deck before getting into the facts here, and Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 was the poor sucker that was the showcase for this in the anime. In episode 2, Joey uses this card during his duel against Taya. He uses it to attack Taya's set Happy Lover, but while it was flipped face up, Happy Lover wasn't destroyed. But why? Well, that's because Taya activates Breath of Light to destroy Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 and win her the duel. Did you know that Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 went by a couple of different names during Duelist Kingdom? Well, in the dub version, of course. In episode 11, Rex Raptor named this card Rock Ogre based on its appearance, which isn't technically incorrect, it's basically a shorter version of its full name. But in episode 16, in Joey's duel against Kaiba, the card was named Smashing Rock. In the manga, Rock Ogre Grotto number 1 was shown to be a level 4 monster instead of the level 3 monster that it is in the anime and TCG. Skullstalker is another card that got its first print in 2013's Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack and received the Joey's Brooklyn accent in its flavor text treatment. It read, "First he's gonna grab your monster with his claws, then attack again with his poison stinger." I felt like that was the best one so far. Skullstalker was another of Joey's cards seen in the Friendship deck Yugi used against Bakura, and I've got to say, pretty much all of Joey's cards in this deck were from his amateur deck rather than his Duelist Kingdom one. I've always thought this was strange, but hey, we roll with it. Anyway, it got the same treatment as the others in episode 13, where we can see the card in Yami's hand that he would then be forced to discard due to the flip effect of Morphing Jar. In the video games Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters Dark Duel Stories 1 and 2 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, Skullstalker was drawn with a different artwork. Stone Armadillo's first TCG release was also in 2013's Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack, meaning its flavor text is another written with Joey's iconic Brooklyn accent. Its flavor text read, "This stone critter's got rock hard fur. That gives him some really good defense." Interestingly, the stone armadillo bears closer resemblance to that of a pangolian rather than its namesake. Stone Armadillo has some Kaiba shade thrown at it pretty brutally in episode 9 of the anime. So, the card can be seen on Kaiba's computer when he was searching for the duel arena that Yugi was currently dueling on. Stone Armadillo was shown being used in a duel that was on a random arena that Yugi wasn't on. Because it was Stone Armadillo, Kaiba just leaves this arena and starts searching through other arenas to find Yugi. I'm not gonna say poor Stone Armadillo, man. The Furious Sea King has a counterpart called Night Lizard, which was an OCG only card printed back in 2000 in the Booster 7 set. In Yugi's first ever duel with Kaiba, which happened in Duel 9 of the manga, this was before the famous duel we all remember from the first episode of the anime. Now, Yugi has what appeared to be an early version of the Furious Sea King. However, we don't get to see a lot of it though, as Battleox destroys it along with a bunch of other monsters. Name translation fun again, and we're looking at the epic Arabic translations that, again, I'm not attempting to pronounce. The Furious Sea King's Arabic name translates to the Furious King of the Seas or the Angry King of the Seas. And this wraps it up for Joey's amateur deck, but again, we are not done yet. We still have one more deck to go, which was the one he used against Duke Devlin at his game store. In the anime, Joey dueled Duke Devlin with a deck built up of booster packs that were opened right before the duel. Yugi objected to Joey dueling with cards he was unfamiliar with, but Joey didn't care one bit. He just wanted to humiliate Duke in his own arena. But here's the really interesting part. Did you know that all of the cards in these packs that they opened came from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Official card game's Thousand Eyes Bible expansion? In the TCG, this set was combined with another OCG set that would be issued as Pharaoh's Servant. Now, of course, we don't get to see all of the cards Joey pulled and put into this deck, but let's go over the ones we do know that he had. Did you know that Goblin Attack Force is the first monster to have 0 defense among all level 4 Earth and Warrior monsters? This non-existent defense stat was the price for it having 2,300 attack points for a level 4 monster, as its effect forces you to put the monster in defense position at the end of your battle phase, and it can't be changed until the end phase of your next turn. Its effect is portrayed beautifully in the anime and in the card Prepared to Strike Back, as the goblins are shown to fall asleep after attacking. I've got to say, I have always loved that. Do you remember card storylines that we talked about earlier in the video? Well, there are a bunch of cards that indicate that Goblin Attack Force and the Marauding Captain are actually enemies. In short, as the story of the Marauding Captain is a long one, the Marauding Captain is a famous warrior monster who has led his allies to many victories. The captain has accomplished numerous achievements. One of these is the eradication of the goblins. In a one-man mission, he invaded their camp and surprised the goblins. Their defeat was so devastating that they decided to form their own squad centered around the captain himself, named Goblin Marauding Squad. Goblin Attack Force has had a lot of counterparts. They are the Toon Goblin Attack Force, the Goblin Elite Attack Force, the Goblin Recon Squad, the Goblin Black Ops, the Goblin Decoy Squad, Goblin Marauding Squad, and the anime-only Goblin Dancing Force. Did you know that Mad Sword Beast was not only the first dinosaur effect monster, but it was also the first monster to have a piercing effect? What's really interesting about the Mad Sword Beast is that despite the fact that it has the appearance of a rhinoceros, this card isn't actually a beast type, it's a dinosaur type. Which was crazy to me. I always looked at this card as if it was a rhino, but no, it's a dino. This is further supported by the fact that the Mad Sword Beast can be seen in the card artwork of Lost World, with many other of its dinosaur brethren. The duel against Duke isn't the only time we see Joey with this monster. In episode 104 during the Virtual World arc, Joey is seen with this card during his duel against Johnson. However, the card must hold some very bad memories for our boy, as the card is among Joey's choices for his deck master, in which he of course chooses Flame Swordsman. And I mean, he was always going to choose Flame Swordsman, but it was there. He had the choice. In the video games Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelist, this card was drawn with a different artwork. Sword Hunter has had 3 errata to its effect. Its original print from 2004's Pharaoh's Servant read, "A monster destroyed by this card becomes an equipped magic card. Equip Sword Hunter with this card to increase the attack of this monster by 200 points. The equipped card remains on the field until the card is destroyed." Now, the first errata came in Dark Beginning 1, where it basically simplified the wording and changed the term magic card to spell card. The second errata dropped the spell card term completely and simply called the defeated monster an equip card. The third and final errata came in its 2013 release in the Legendary Collection 4 Joey's World Mega Pack, lengthening the explanation of the monster's effect, naming specific phases and locations on the field. And that is every card in Joey's Duelist Kingdom deck. But what about all the cards in the legendary deck of Yu-Gi-Moto that crowned him the king of games? Well, make sure to check out this video here to see 141 facts about Yugi's Duelist Kingdom deck. I'll see you over there. Take care. Peace, peace.